Craven Boulevard, a post-World War II facility, to right down here at the University of Maryland campus. The idea 20 years ago is as vibrant, as necessary as it is today, to make sure that our veterans, regardless of what war they fought in, got the best medical care that they needed, that it was available, that it was accessible, that it was undeniable, and that they would have access to the best of VA medicine as well as what the civilian medical community to offer. In order to be able to also do that, you have to put money in the federal checkbook. I now chair the Senate Appropriations Committee. This is the committee that takes tax dollars and puts it in the federal checkbook in the way we think best meets the needs of America, a safer country, and a stronger economy, but also that promises made are promises kept. I am absolutely devoted to the veterans of the United States of America, and I wanted to be sure that we matched our words with deeds. Therefore, the very first bill, the very first funding bill that my committee marked up, I insisted that we put veterans ahead of the line. So last week, on Thursday, the very first bill to move through the Senate Appropriations Committee, chaired by Barbara Mikulski, was to fund veterans, the Veterans Administration, to make sure that veterans had the health care that they needed, a Veterans Administration who responded to their needs, and that we would crack the backlog on the disability claims benefit. I am so pleased to tell you, we passed that bill on a bipartisan basis. We showed that we stand up for America and those who fought Americans. We can work the way Congress should. And let me tell you the good news. In the Appropriations Committee, we funded the Veterans Administration to the tune of $158 billion. That's a lot of money. And it goes through running all of the hospitals, all the primary care facilities, Arlington Cemetery, from Arlington Cemetery to the great facility at Walter Reed. And we wanted to be sure that we put money in the federal checkbook for VA medical care. We are funding VA medical care at $55 billion. $55 billion. $1 billion more than last year. So even in this tight budget time, we wanted to be sure promises made were promises kept. To the aging World War II generation that is now moving on into history, to our Vietnam generation with all of the compelling problems that they faced, from Korea to Desert Storm, now to Iraq and Afghanistan. We wanted to be sure that there was money to run all of the VA hospitals, all of the primary care facilities, and to make sure they have the specialty care from mental health to respiratory therapy to get them back on their feet and keep them in their community. We also know that many of our veterans are aging, and also some of our Iraq and Afghan people need special care. So we made sure of that $55 billion, 7.6 goes into long-term care for the people at Prairie Point, to the people at Oak Raven that need rehabilitation and assisted living services. We're there for them the way we ask them to be there for us. We're also expanding our rural health care for veterans by $250 million, and we also looked out for the special needs of veterans. We also know that our VA does some of the best medical research in the world. And they now are making pioneering breakthroughs that will help not only our veterans, but our civilian population. We're placing a special emphasis on traumatic brain injury. From those of bruised brains, from concussions and shock, of being in a battlefield condition, to actually experiencing traumatic injury to them. We'll learn so much on how to help them be rehabilitated and restored to a more normal life. But this will have all kinds of implications also for civilian health care. We're placing an emphasis also on prosthetic work. From the old days of just very klutzy technology to help the veteran return home, we're using the very best of bioengineering, new thinking to be able to connect to the body and to the mind, and new kinds of artificial looking skin so that our veterans might not be able to pick up a 50-pound weight, but they can carry more than their weight in the community, so that they'll be able to function, whether it's to operate a computer, to work in the workplace, to toss a baseball with their son or their daughter. We're going to do this breakthrough prosthetic device that will be so much. The other area where the VA is working so hard is also in spinal cord injury. Again, devastating impacts of IUDs that will enable them to either restore more of their functioning or even one day, we hope, for spinal cord regeneration. That would be the dream of a lifetime. So we have here a comprehensive approach to really keep our veterans' health care going. The other will be $10 million for the modernization of VA hospitals. We're very concerned, $100 million. The VA faces in many parts of our country a severe maintenance backlog, from plumbing to new facilities to new wiring and so on for the new technology. Many of us remember very sorrowfully the terrible scandal at Walter Reed. Well, we're never going to have that again, and certainly not on my watch. No way, no time. So we put in the money of $100 million that where there were facilities around the country that needed to be upgraded, particularly for the apparatus, the heating, air conditioning, plumbing. We're going to do it. And also building new primary care facilities to where our veterans are. So from facilities to hands-on health care to medical research, we feel we have an adequate budget. But we have a new kind of scandal, and that is the backlog scandal of veterans having to wait for their claims back. We think that if you've been on the front line, serving your country, you shouldn't have to be in a long line in order to get your disability claims benefit processed. We are deeply concerned that many of these go on for more than 2 or 3 years. Right now, there is 500,000 veterans, over 600,000 veterans who've had to wait several months and even several years for their backlog. I was deeply disturbed to find out in April that Maryland had one of the worst backlogs. That's why I brought General Shinseki himself here to help begin to solve that problem. What we then did was take lessons learned from Baltimore and listening to our wonderful veteran service organizations who are here today. Secretary Ed Schell, heading up the Maryland Veterans Commission, other members of the veteran service organizations who work with the benefits. We listened to them, and we've been able to work on this. So what have we done in this legislation? We have put in, first of all, I believe that there are 3 things that we need to do. We need to upgrade our technology. We need to have more people and more people working overtime, and they need the training to make sure that the money we put into it is well used, and then we have to have accountability. We came up, working with General Shinseki, a 10-point program starting with $20 million to upgrade the computer hardware. Right now, the VA claims are paper. There are some paper claims that are as tall as I am. Yeah, that's not hard to do. I'm 4'10" on a good day. But when you come in and see piles of paper, it's almost impossible for a dedicated staff member to be able to work on it. To make matters worse, the VA computers weren't going to talk to the DOD computers. Ed Howe and I joked. DOD was going to speak, Chinese, and I was VA is going to speak Polish. They just weren't going to speak together. What we needed, because it's no laughing matter, we are insisting that for our money, VA and DOD computers need to speak together. We're increasing our overtime, we're increasing our numbers of people, and we're increasing our training, and we will also be ensuring the quality mechanisms to be able to do it. We feel that we have the money in the right checkbook through technology, more people working longer hours, and the right training to do it, that we will be able to reduce this backlog. We say we will meet again in September with our VSOs to make sure Baltimore's on track, and I will be meeting with General Shinseki and Secretary Engel to make sure America's on track. We are not going to have this backlog continue. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's really the kind of the essence of what I wanted to talk about. I really wanted to turn now to Secretary Shao to talk about what it means to the